You know, I'd rather have fake news like CNN. I would rather have fake news, it's true, than have anybody, including liberals, socialists, anything, than have anybody stopped and censored. We gotta live with it. We gotta get used to it. We gotta live with fake news. There's too many sources. Every one of us is sort of like a newspaper. You have Twitter, you have whatever you have, Facebook. But everyone, you can't have censorship. You can't pick one person and say, well, we don't like what he's been saying, he's out. So we'll live with fake news. I mean, I hate to say it, but we have no choice because that's by far the better alternative. You can't have people saying censorship because you know what? It can turn around. It can be them next.
What you just heard was the President of the United States of America, and I agree with him 100% on that statement. You see, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if you're fake news networks like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and other fake news outlets. They should be allowed to talk on the internet and television broadcast, but also their opposition should be allowed to speak, like Breitbart and InfoWars and Zero Hedge and multiple other news outlets should also be allowed to have that platform. That is the very definition of what it means to have freedom of speech. We do not eliminate someone's voice because we disagree with them. That is not a definition. That is a definition of tyranny. When we put and force certain voices to be diminished, that's tyranny. But when we allow everyone to voice an opinion, that's called freedom and freedom of speech and freedom of the press. But you see, the Democrats want to take that away from us. You see, the fact is, it doesn't matter what kind of content is there, whether it's fact or fiction, true or false, conspiracy theory or not. You, the people in America, are the ones to decide what kind of content you want to read and when you want to read it and who you want to get that content from. Not some Democratic globalist telling you what you're allowed to read and not read. It's none of their business. Want to know something? There's many Democrats who are attempting to silence voices on the internet, voices that they oppose. Take a listen to this Senator Ron Wyden.
That reflect our values. If that bad actor blows by the bounds of common decency, I think you got to have a way to make sure that stuff is taken down.
Mm-hmm. So that's a hornet's nest with people like this. The idea of what they take down, who decides. There's a lot of people uncomfortable with tech companies deciding these things. I think they do already by downgrading them. I think they're already doing a version of that. They're already making decisions.
He wants to censor thousands of other sites for no apparent reason other than they oppose certain views or content. He's not too specific, but here's the thing. If you're a Democrat on the same side as him, that should outrage you because bottom line, you have a right to talk and we have a right to talk and everyone has a right to talk as long as you're not pushing violence on someone. But Ron Wyden, he goes on. Here's this report on Washington Examiner. He expands more. This was August 22nd. Ron Wyden calls for consequences when bad actor content isn't removed from social media. During an interview, Wyden said he is working on a privacy bill that will protect people's data. He stressed that he doesn't favor government control of private companies. However, the Democrats said there needs to be a hard look at the Alex Jones case. I think what the Alex Jones case shows, we're going to really be looking at what the consequences are for just leaving common decency in the dust, he said. What I'm going to be trying to do in my legislation is to really lay out what consequences are when someone who is a bad actor, somebody who really doesn't meet the decent principles that reflect on our values, in other words, New World Order, if that bad actor blows by the bounds of common decency, I think you got to have a way to make sure that stuff is taken down. What specifically did he want taken down and suppressed? What kind of ideals did Alex Jones harbor that were so bad? Well, he expands September 11th terrorist attacks because he believed that was an inside job. Sandy Hook massacre. Oh, and New World Order belief that they want to commit mass genocide. In other words, Senator, you want to silence opposition. September 11th has been proven, it was there is a false flag going on with September 11th. It was an inside job. Well, we got documents on that, but hey, New World Order committing mass genocide. Let's not talk about geoengineering, also known as chemtrails, or injecting the skies, or Monsanto's food supply, or fluoridation of the water. So in other words, he wants to silence conspiracy theories. Whether you believe in a conspiracy theory on the left or the right doesn't matter. He wants to silence anyone who believes that stuff, anyone who speaks in opposition to their view, to their globalism and their New World Order mentality. And he's not the only one. Here's another senator. I showed this one before. Chris Murphy, a senator from Connecticut, tweeted, "InfoWars is just the tip of a giant iceberg of hate and lies that uses sites like Facebook and YouTube to tear down our nation. These companies must do more than take down one website. The survival of our democracy depends on it." No, it doesn't. The survival of our democracy depends on the freedom of speech and the freedom of the average person to expose some of the corruption that's happening around us, including from our senators. We don't live in Nazi Germany. We don't live in China, where they monitor everything you say and do. You mean you want a system like China that removes things from the internet? We, the people, are smart enough to disseminate news for ourselves. We don't need someone to tell us what we can and can't listen to. Senators, like the two Democratic senators, in my opinion, are telling the American people that they're not smart enough to disseminate information on their own, so they have to take matters into their own hands. That, in my opinion, is the equivalent of what they are saying. And I take a different stance. I think you, the people in America, are smart enough to disseminate information for yourself. That's the freedom of speech. But what happens when they remove one-sided content? What can happen? Well, take a listen to what Laura Ingraham said on Fox News.
If big tech can control the information flow, then they can also perhaps even influence the outcome of the midterms and even future presidential elections.
They will take over the elections. They will be the ones deciding who is president. When they're silencing opposition, the conservatives, the patriots, the gun owners, the nationalists, when they're silencing a one side, then you only have one side left, which basically most of the mainstream media is one-sided. And then you will have that progressive, communist, socialist, international socialist mentality. Those will be the candidates chosen in the elections and in presidency when they control the narrative on the internet and the television and the radio waves. They're already starting. Check out the socialists/communists, Alexandria Cortez. They already have their hand in the pot and they're already starting the process. The globalists are activating their Censor-Grid. You see, and the Democrats are with them on it. They're international socialists. You see, here's the Democratic plan. If Democrats can't beat us, and they're not beating us, and the socialists aren't beating us, then they will silence us via censorship. This is a huge point. If the Democrats can't beat us, then they will attempt to prevent us from speaking. That's the bottom line. We can't beat them at the polling box. We can't beat them on certain issues. Let's just shut down their voices altogether. And senator after senator are speaking out in support of this. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican or left or right doesn't matter. We should all stand against censorship. After all, who's next? Is it going to be a leftist group, the Young Turks? I highly doubt. Maybe in a couple years, because what goes around comes around. Or is it going to be Breitbart, WikiLeaks, Matt Drudge? Who's next? 1,000 YouTube channels, or maybe like Apple, who removed thousands of apps because they moved to China and China didn't like those particular apps. Freedom is freedom. Can you stand on freedom? Anyhow, don't forget to check out my partner at Virtual Shield at hidewithlisa.com. I back this particular VPN, a virtual private network, because they don't keep your information, unlike a lot of the free ones. So if you're not on a VPN, then you are allowing a lot of intrusion in your personal life that you shouldn't and don't need to allow. VPNs don't prevent all of it, but they do prevent people from knowing what you're looking at on the internet. So check out hidewithlisa.com. Anyhow, if you like what you heard, give me a thumbs up, share it far and wide, and get this message to everyone who is against any form of censorship. Well, thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.